So Democrats are literally defunding the police right now as we sit here. While Trump delivers the lowest murder rates in over 125 years, House Democrats are holding our national security hostage again, shutting down key DHS agencies. They're so triggered by Trump's crime-fighting success, and it is a success, they're willing to put Americans at risk again for political gain, of course. But there's something they don't want you to know about why they're really doing this. We're going to get into this. So this isn't just about political theater. Your family's safety is on the line. TSA agents protecting our airports, FEMA workers ready for disasters, and Coast Guard rescuing Americans at sea. And the Secret Service protecting our leaders are all caught in the Democrat temper tantrum. They can't stand Trump. And they can't stand that Trump turned Washington, D.C. from a murder capital of probably the country into one of America's safest cities, along with Memphis, Tennessee. Personal implications. Your travel could be disrupted, emergency responses delayed, and they want that reaction because that's how they get the headlines. But ICE, they're on it. Social implications. Crime could spike if law enforcement loses support. And the implications politically is that Democrats are being exposed for their true priorities. They'd rather see America fail, get their congressional votes, have a better chance at winning president than see Trump succeed. And speaking of these things that the establishment doesn't want you to know, we have breaking news is breaking quietly, and most people missed it. While headlines focused on this DHS shutdown drama, the Trump administration just released a document that could fundamentally reshape the U.S. mining sector. And this is real, unfolding right now under Executive Order 14241. This goes far beyond typical mining investments. We're talking about a complete restructuring that could create massive opportunities for those who position themselves correctly. VIZSLA Copper has been tracking these developments closely. Their team identified key players positioned to benefit from this executive action. And all this is happening while Democrats play politics with your security. And smart Americans are securing their financial future. The mining sector transformation is happening whether the media covers it or not. So get the full briefing at VIZSLACopperReport.com. Now back to the Democrat shutdown disaster. But here's what's really infuriating for everybody in the know. ICE is fully funded through 2029. So immigration enforcement continues no matter what. Democrats aren't actually stopping deportations or border security. They're just attacking the agencies that keep Americans safe at home, like TSA. TSA is going to get shut down. So airports get shut down. That's how they get headlines. Coast Guard rescued, cybersecurity protection, disaster relief. That's what they're willing to sacrifice. They want to hurt Americans to get their point across. And this proves it was never about immigration. It's about punishing Trump for winning on crime. We're going to get into the tweets now and see where we're at. All right. So we got Paul A. Cispala, who says Representative Adelita Grijalva, from a Democrat from Arizona, is told to her face by CNN that there's no point in Democrats shutting down DHS since ICE is already funded by the big, beautiful bill for another 4 years. So she says it's not Republicans' fault for not caving to the Democrats. What an idiot. Let's see.
The border czar Tom Homan said the lapse in funding really isn't impacting immigration operations nationwide because, as you know, they already got a big chunk of change from a bill that was passed by Republicans last year. What's the end game here?
We just have to be clear. It's Republicans who are shutting down DHS and because they refuse to hold ICE accountable.
Okay, so Republicans are shutting down DHS when it takes 60 votes to pass anything in the Senate for any continuing resolution or bill being voted on. Guess what? There's 51 Republicans in the Senate, 52 maybe? And then with J.D. Vance as a tiebreaker, maybe 53. But a couple Republicans may not be on, and it's not enough for a majority vote. And that's what happened the last time they got shut down in October. And they said this CNN confrontation with Grijalva shows Democrats getting concerned on their own talking points. But Republicans are firing back with their own versions of events. From OAN, it says, tonight, A Real America with Tim Barchett, with DHS entering its third day of partial shutdown. Where do we draw the line between legitimate immigration reform and holding hostage that agencies secure our borders and airports? Let's take a look.
In these ridiculous demands. And the other one I didn't find ridiculous was make them all wear body cams. That's totally fine. Body cams I'm cool with. It'll show how radical the lefties are when they attack the cops. So I'm good with that. But here's one that killed me. In those areas they want them to stay away from. Tim, do you want to tell them or should I tell them? Why would ICE agents have to stay away from polling places? Did Democrats just literally expose themselves by saying that they want illegal aliens to vote? Because why wouldn't ICE be able to go near a polling station? Why would an illegal alien be by one, Tim?
Yeah, as one of my tweets that I put out this week, it had over 800,000 views, Dan. One of the most, I was talking to my campaign manager, Thomas McAfee, of just a few minutes ago about it, just how crazy that was, the irony of that.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. And to think that this female U.S. senator said that, I can't believe that ICE is going to be at polling places of all places, that will have a chilling effect. Well, I hope it does. I hope the illegals aren't going to vote.
Why would they? They're not supposed to be there. So why would you put that on the list, Chucky? Because you know what's happening. Illegals are voting, and you just told the American people that by saying you don't want ICE there. Anyway, let me get off that bandwagon. I just had to keep hammering that because that just blows my friggin' mind. I don't know why this woman is rearing her ugly head again and her pantsuits, but Hillary Clinton, I guess over the weekend, decided to chime in on ICE immigration, and I know everybody loves to hear from her, so roll it.
I think we need to call it for what it is.
Secretary
There
Clinton.
is a legitimate reason to have a debate about things like migration. It went too far. It's been disruptive and destabilizing, and it needs to be fixed in a humane way with secure borders that don't torture and kill people.
We've been saying this since 2012.
Really? Who's torturing and killing people, number one? Number two, Tim, would you like to tell her who caused it to become violent? It was fine the first few months last year until somebody started paying all these paid agitators to make it violent, Tim.
100%. Under the Biden administration, how many millions did we have come over? How many hundreds of thousands of children are missing right now? We found, I think, 300,000. Holman said the other day they found about 170,000. God bless them for that. But this is just a charade by them.
Disgusting.
And if you'll notice, though, Hillary Clinton's in Munich, Germany, when she's saying all this. And there's a bunch of Democrat legislators over there in Germany who pushed for a shutdown and now are talking about how dysfunctional America is in a foreign nation that you and I as taxpayers are paying to send their butts over there for. I find it very offensive, and I find it very ironic. I'm surprised the national media can't get their heads out of their collective butts to point that obvious situation out, but they haven't.
So these guys, I mean, like Hillary Clinton, so like, all right, so Bill comes out in the Epstein files, all these things are happening, right? And now Hillary Clinton's going out there making pro-border stances. I think it's either tied to the Epstein where they, like Trump saying, hey, do this and maybe they'll have a deal worked out, or they know that the border issue is resonating well with Americans and they have to come out and support it for midterms. Because even though the midterm polling data is showing that Dems have an 82% chance of winning the midterms, that means everybody needs to get out and vote. You all need to do your parts. But they also know they're losing on this issue and that most Americans agree that they want to be safe because you see the protests that are happening. You see it out there. You see these people saying they just got confronted by an ICE agent the other day and they're like, we're here to arrest people that are doing bad things to kids. We're here to arrest people that are stealing money and all these other things and committing felonies. Lady's like, I don't care. And he's like, well, clearly you don't care. That's how they're losing this narrative because they're defending Abreu Garcia, the guy who beat his wife. They're defending all of these terrible people. They're losing this fight. Hillary Clinton knows that. Obama knows that, which is why they're coming against it. At least that's what I think. So Burchett's appearance tonight proves the shutdown fight is escalating fast, with both sides digging in on what constituents say hostage taking versus legitimate reform. We have a tweet from Rep. Mark Alford. He says, we are in possibly the stupidest shutdown in American history. Could not agree more. They're shutting down an agency that's funded through 2029. Let's talk about it. So we are, it says House GOP already passed funding, including $20 million for body cameras and sent into the Senate. And we have body cam footage coming out of different states right now that are showing the protesters' faces. Oh, it's going to backfire on these guys. They wanted this. So now you're going to deal with the consequences. We agree on transparency, but we will not endanger federal officers or ignore final deportation notice. Protect the line. So I'm assuming they're saying hold the line, guys. Let's see what they have to say.
No, they are actively negotiating this with the Senate side. But look, I think this is the stupidest shutdown in U.S. history. We have already provided money in the bill that the appropriators passed and the House passed and sent to the Senate, $2 million for body cameras. We agree that they should have body cameras. I think it's really going to tell the truth, the facts of what is going on in places like Minneapolis and other places. Look, when it comes to warrants, I know they want judicial warrants. We have administrative warrants. These criminal illegal aliens have had due process. Final orders of deportation have been set by judges, and they need to go back to their home countries. As far as removing masks, we are not going to jeopardize the safety of federal officers. There's a reason they're wearing masks, to protect their identity so they're not doxxed, their families aren't stalked, and they can go home safely at night.
And I was waiting for CNN to say that that doesn't happen. But if you look at when they were ripping out the backs of the FBI or the FBI and the DHS cars in Minneapolis a couple of weeks ago, they went through it and found names, phone numbers, addresses. They used that list. They took pictures of it. They sent it online, and they were going after the agents' families. That's what they do. That's why they wear masks. Not because they want to. It's because they have to, because the left is so deranged that if I'm an ICE agent, they're going to go after my children. They're going to find out what school they're at. They're going to harass my house. Of course I have to protect them. Of course they do. It's insane. And while Republicans claim they're already compromised with body camera funding, the official DHS response to expose which agencies are really at risk. We have a tweet from Homeland Security. It says, the ongoing shutdown is holding the safety and national security of the American people hostage. Immigration enforcement is continued unfettered, with CBP and ICE Gov are fully funded. And Democrats and congressional Democrats are going nuts. They want to do things that are going to hurt you at the airport. They want to do things that are going to inconvenience you. They want FEMA to not go out and respond. They want the Coast Guard not to do rescues because that's going to give CNN the talking points that they need to slam the president. Let's see what they say.
So the shutdown, ICE isn't affected by this funding debate because they're fully funded through 2029. So it's not about money. But here are the other DHS agencies, some of them at least, that are affected by the shutdown. United States Coast Guard, FEMA, TSA, CISA, it's the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Agency. Should be, I guess, CSIA. And the Federal Law Enforcement Training Centers, as well as the Secret Service. There are probably a dozen other agencies as well that are affected. So the Democrats are really kind of pulling the rug out from underneath the feet of national security in order to try to make a point about immigration operations, right, which have already been modified.
When our immigration enforcement efforts will not be hampered by this in any way, ICE and CBP agents will still be paid, and yet there's 23 components of DHS. Until I started this job, actually, I didn't realize how vast the scope of DHS is. 260,000 employees will be impacted. TSA agents. I mean, we saw this movie before, though, John. We saw TSA agents in the last shutdown. Some of them were sleeping in their car. Some people having to choose between buying gasoline to get to work and putting food on the table. The Democrat politicians here, Chuck Schumer, Hakeem Jeffries, they are holding the American people's national security hostage. Just in the name of scoring some cheap political points, it's really nonsensical.
Yeah, the sacrifices that were made by TSA and others, obviously they were recognized by the president, who gave them $10,000 bonuses.
Yes, they did. And you know what? Making DHS agents sleep in cars is sickening, that these Democrats would do these to these people. And you know what? If somebody threatens one of those people, guess who they're going to call? They're going to call the Department of Homeland Security, and they're going to demand that they figure out who's the one threatening them and going after and all these things. The same people that sit there and they have the anti-gun debate and all these things are the same ones with armed security. It's a double standard. They want you, the American people, to suffer. That's it. They don't care. They want to score the political points, make Trump lose the midterms, all because of these perceived notions that they're going to force down your throats. And I think the Pentagon should reestablish the Coast Guard back to the Pentagon, remove them from the DHS so they don't ever have to worry about the Coast Guard funding again. But it just says the DHS laid out the stakes. Now watch Trump flip this entire narrative by taking credit for the very law enforcement success Democrats are allegedly undermining. From Rapid Response 47, we have at POTUS, we have to protect our law enforcement. They've done a great job. We have the best murder numbers. Horrible thing to say, but we have the best murder numbers since 1900, and that's all due to Trump.
We have to protect our law enforcement. They've done a great job. I just got finished saying that we have the best crime numbers we've had in many years, and on murders, 125 years, and that's despite a lot of people that shouldn't have been let into our country coming into our country, criminals, many criminals, but we've taken out tens of thousands of people, brought them back to their countries. Many of the criminals that were brought in, allowed to come in, have been removed. So, we're okay. But to have the best crime numbers, which aren't made by me, these are made by people that do that, many left-leaning. We have the best murder numbers. Horrible thing to say, but we have the best murder numbers since 1900. That's before my father was born. 125 years, think of it. The best crime numbers since 1900 having to do with murder, and really good crime numbers, the best in years.
So that comes from Cash App Patel and other people that are sitting out there and letting cops do their jobs. And if you go to Washington, D.C., Chicago, other areas, Memphis, Tennessee, big deal down there. Look at Mardi Gras, what's happening down with the National Guard being present. Those murder rates went from up here, they're down to historic lows because he's allowing the people to do the jobs that we elected them to do, or we put them in the position to do it. It's not hard to say, hey, guys, go out there and be cops. What we need right now from the Trump administration or a law from Congress to say that all the police departments can't misidentify people. So there's a lot of criminals that are getting a portion to the wrong, skin color or whatever else inside of those records that's skewing some of the data reports. We need to put a full stop to that too. I wish that the administration would do that. But Trump's boasting about crime stats sets up his main political attack. The Democrats are sabotaging success out of spite. From Rapid Response 47, this has nothing to do with Republicans. This is a Democrat shutdown. They're upset that the crime numbers are so good. Not wrong at all.
This is a Democrat shutdown. This has nothing to do with Republicans. This is a Democrat shutdown. They're upset that the crime numbers are so good. They're very unhappy that the crime numbers are so good.
Yeah, of course they're upset crime numbers are good because they want high crime, because they always run on fixing crime. Look at Chicago. I live in Chicago. I live in the area. And every year it's like, oh, I'm going to have this to do crime. I'm going to fix crime. I'm going to fix crime. They always talk about it. It's the same thing with the homeless populations across the country. The more homeless they have, the more money they get. So why would they get rid of the homeless? Why would they do a thing about it? And you go to Chicago and other states where they close schools down, tell the African-American and the impoverished communities that they can't go to school there. They don't have the money. They ship them to different suburbs. And then they sit there and they come up with the cash and make it shelters for illegal immigrants. They don't care about the American people. And we're waking up to this. So Trump delivers his knockout punch, claiming Democrats are literally upset about the good crime numbers and reframing this as their shutdown, because it is the Democrat shutdown yet again. We need 60 votes. We don't get that on the Republican side. We need 8 Democrats to come over and do the deal. That's why they're talking about getting rid of the filibuster. So I POTUS on DHS funding. We're going to protect law enforcement. We're going to protect ICE. They're part of the whole system that's working.
Are there any demands that Democrats are making that you're okay with?
Well, I don't like some of the things they're asking for. We're going to protect law enforcement. We're going to protect ICE. They're part of the whole system that is working. In Washington, D.C. now is considered a very safe city. When I took over, it was a city that you were losing 2-3 people a week. Over 100 people a year were being murdered in Washington. Now it's considered a very safe city. And we did that. I did it over a fairly short period of time, too.
So I was just in Washington, D.C. covering the White House for the Next News Network, and I've been out there a lot of times, and so has Gary. And I felt so safe. Like, normally you have to be careful because you're walking around with thousands of dollars of equipment and gear, and you just walk from the White House to your hotel and just hope nobody gets you. But it was safe. I didn't feel threatened. Like, a lot of times you have to hide your badge and you're like, oh man, I don't want them seeing who I am, or I don't want them taking the gear. They see a nice watch or a nice suit. They just assume they're going to take your money. It's not happening anymore. It's not. And it's safe there. It's incredible. It's so nice that I could actually bring my family out there and not have to worry about these crazy things. But Trump just dropped the truth bomb that destroyed their entire narrative. This is a Democrat shutdown. They're upset the crime numbers are so good. And that's it right there, guys. They literally cannot handle Trump delivering the safest America in 125 years. So they're going to throw a tantrum that puts your family at risk, just trying to make him look bad and make them look a little bit better. But we know they don't care about us. They only care about the votes. But here's the bottom line. Democrats would rather shut down the government than admit Trump's policies work. Murder rates haven't been this low since 1900 or before it. And Washington, D.C. went from losing hundreds of lives per year to being one of the safest cities in America. In weeks, not years, in weeks it happened. But instead of celebrating safer communities, Democrats are holding national security hostage because they can't stand losing. They're literally choosing politics over protecting Americans. And this is who they really are when the cameras aren't rolling. It's scary and it's sad. They're willing to sacrifice your safety, your kid's safety, your mom's safety, your cousin's safety for their political games. So tell me this, do you trust a party that shuts down security agencies just because they're mad about lower crime rates? And hey, while you guys are thinking about that, check out the Next News merch shop for that gear that shows where you stand when America needs defending most. Stay alert and God bless.
The system controls information. Information control is power.
They don't want you to see this.
The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.